Okay, so this video is more specific. This is for geometry on Thursday, September 17th. And I'm going to sort of give you some helpful hints on your homework. This is on page 180. You were doing on 180 and 181, 1 through 20. So I'm going to give you the answers to 1 through 10. So you can check yourself and see if you're doing it right. Number 1 is perpendicular bisector. Two is 95.4. 3 is 25.9. 4 is 52. 5 is 21.9. 6 is 24 degrees. 7 is 38 degrees. On number 8, let's see, that one's a little bit more complicated. We'll come back to that one. Number 9, you get y minus 1 equals x plus 2. And number 10, you get y plus 3 equals negative 1/3 times x minus 3. All right, so in the interest of giving you a little bit more help on your homework, I'm going to go ahead and do at least number 9, possibly number 10 for you as well. So number 9 wants me to find the equation of a perpendicular bisector of the segment MN, where M is negative 5, 4, and N is 1, negative 2. So that means M is over here somewhere, and N is somewhere around here. So I'm looking for that perpendicular bisector. First thing I want to find is the midpoint of MN. So I average the x's and average the y's. Negative 5 plus 1 over 2. 4 plus negative 2 over 2. So that's negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2, and 2 over 2, which is 1. So that's this point right here. And see, there's an example. That one doesn't really look like it's at negative 2, 1, but it's okay. This is a very rough sketch. The next thing I want to do is find the slope of MN. The slope formula says take the difference between your y values and put that on top, and on the bottom, the difference between your x values. So 4 minus a negative 2 on top, negative 5 minus 1 on the bottom. This becomes 6 over negative 6, which is negative 1. Now, that is actually the slope of MN. Be careful that you remember that that's the slope of MN. That's not the slope of the perpendicular line. To find the slope of the perpendicular line, we have to take that. We're going to flip it over. So I'm going to go ahead and write it as a fraction by putting it over 1. We're going to change the sign, make it positive. It's negative now, make it positive. Flipping it over just gives me 1 over 1, which is just 1. So if you have negative 1, the negative reciprocal of negative 1 is just positive 1. So this is the perpendicular bisector slope. So that's what I wanted. So now I have a point that's on the perpendicular bisector, and I have the slope of the perpendicular bisector, and I'm ready to plug in to point slope form. Make sure you know point slope form. The x value from that point goes right here. The y value goes right here. And here's the slope, goes right here. So that gives me y minus 1 equals 1 times x minus a negative 2 becomes plus 2. I don't really have to have that 1. So you could just write it as y minus 1 equals x plus 2. And you're done. That one would be very easy to write in slope-intercept form if I wanted to. Remember, the special thing about slope-intercept form is that y is alone on one side. So just move this over here, and now y is alone on one side. So that would be y equals x plus 3, because I add 1 to both sides to get y alone. But you don't have to do that. You weren't asked to put it in slope-intercept form. So you can leave it the way it is. You were actually specifically asked for point slope form, which is here. Let's look at number 10. That was number 9. Number 10, we have the segment is UV, and I want to get the equation of the perpendicular bisector of it. So first I'm going to find the midpoint of UV, because the perpendicular bisector has to go through the midpoint. That's 2 plus 4 all divided by 2, negative 6 plus 0 all divided by 2, which is 6 over 2 or 3, and negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. So there's the midpoint of UV. That's a point that's on my line. Next thing is the slope of UV. The reason I'm finding the slope of UV is because if I find the slope of UV, then I can flip it over, change the sign, and I have the slope of the perpendicular bisector. So this is difference between the y's on top, difference between the x's on the bottom. That gives me negative 6 over negative 2, which is 3. Now that's not the slope of the line I need, that's the slope of UV. We're looking for a line that goes through UV and is perpendicular to it, so our line has to have perpendicular bisector slope, a slope that is the reciprocal of this. This is 3 over 1, so reciprocal would be 1 over 3, and the opposite sign. So now I have the two main things I needed to know about my line. I have its slope and I have a point that's on it. So y minus, I'm going to plug in the y value here, negative 3 equals, here's the slope, x minus 3. So I get y plus 3 equals negative 1/3 of x minus 3, and that is my answer. Ta-da!